let's watch some YouTube shorts together.
No gain without sacrifice. The T, of course, stands for the sufferings of the cross. The R...
You want some cocaine?
Oh my God, please, yes, that's all I want, all the time! I used to need drugs.
Can we land?
You're old enough to do it in the sky now.
But it's gross.
Every bird does it in the sky.
What if someone is looking down there?
No one is looking down there. I told you, we are not landing. There is no way we're landing.
Are you sure no one's watching?
Run, Mallard! Do it now, or we leave without you.
Okay. Can we land?
I thought I had heard about the worst human experiments, but I was wrong. So back in the 1950s, there was a woman named Gail who went to the doctor complaining about anxiety. And the doctor told her they had this new treatment for anxiety if she wanted to try it. So first he brings Gail into this room where he tells her he's going to give her a few electroshocks, which was normal at the time. But then without preparing her, he gives her 15 times the maximum dosage of electroshocks. And after he does this, Gail starts writhing around on the floor and sucking her thumb, acting like a baby. Her brain was so scrambled from the shocks, she thought she was a child again. But this is exactly what the doctor wanted. So after all this happens, he gets Gail out of there and he puts her straight into a drug-induced coma. And when she's in the coma, he starts playing tapes on a loop for her. And some of them say things like, "I'm a good member of society." So the experiment the doctor was running was he wanted to see if he could take Gail's personality out of her through electroshocks and drugs, and then put another one inside of her. Gail was kept in this study for months, and she was released with the other subjects once the doctor figured out that what he was doing wasn't working. Anyway.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another date.
Trying lipstick from Morocco. You rub the little dish and then bam, pigment. Yeah, I got it. Came in this.
A very wealthy man had an affair with a beautiful Italian woman. One night, she told him that she was pregnant. The man, not wanting to ruin his reputation and marriage, told the Italian woman that if she returned to Italy to have the baby, he would provide her with a substantial sum of money and start child support once the baby was born until the child reached the age of 18. The Italian woman was skeptical, but she agreed and then asked how he would know when the baby was born. To keep it discreet, he told her to send him a postcard with spaghetti written on the back, and once he received the postcard, he would arrange for child support. One day, approximately 9 months later, the wealthy man came home to his confused wife, who told him that a strange postcard had been sent to him. He said, "Give it to me, I'll explain later." His wife agreed and watched as her husband read the card, turned white, and fainted. On the card was written, "Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. 2 with meatballs, 1 without, send extra sauce."
I'll show you how to get... This is how to become friends with someone from a different culture. 6 years ago, I was living in China trying to start a beef jerky company, and I finally found a potential factory in a distant city called Qingdao. I showed up solo to do a jerky test run with no idea what to expect. I stepped into the giant processing plant and saw about 200 workers processing, of all things, pickled chicken feet. In unison, 200 sets of eyes slowly locked onto the strange white man. I looked different, spoke a different language. I didn't belong here. Eventually, they all went on break, and a woman brought me a peace offering, a bag of pickled chicken feet. And this is where things changed. I started snacking on the chicken feet. What they didn't know is that they're one of my favorite snacks. The stares shifted from confused and judgmental to pure excitement. The strange white man was eating their snacks and actually enjoying them. All of a sudden, I was surrounded by smiling factory workers as the awkwardness was broken. You can look different, sound different, and be different, but accepting and enjoying the food from a different culture is the best way to go from an alien to a part of the family.
Loki was well known for his cruel pranks, but one day he went way too far when he assassinated the god Baldur. Loki knew he had screwed up, so together with his lovely wife Sigyn and his 2 sons Narfi and Vali, he fled. They escaped to a hideout in the mountains. During the daytime, Loki would transform into a salmon and hide in the nearby river. But the ravens of Odin spotted him and reported back. Odin ordered a small team of gods to go to Loki's hideout. When Loki saw them, he tried to swim away, but Thor caught him by his tail. The gods took Loki to a nearby cave and forced him to watch as they turned his son Vali into a vicious wolf that slaughtered his brother Narfi. They then took the fresh entrails of Narfi and chained Loki to 3 big rocks with them. Afterwards, they placed a very wicked snake above Loki that would drip its venom on it. Loki's poor wife Sigyn would try to help Loki by holding a bowl above his head, but she would frequently need to go outside to empty the bowl. And when she did, the venom would hit Loki, and his screams of pain were so loud that the earth would quake.
Jupiter is a failure. Failure? It's twice as massive as every other planet combined. What are you talking about? Well, that's just it. Jupiter is so massive that it should have become a star, but it fell just short of getting massive enough. Your favorite planet here is a failed star. Well, that's just wrong. Yeah, okay, man. Dude, Jupiter is not even close to being a star. Sure, it's really massive for a planet, but even the lowest mass stars are on a whole other level. Jupiter would literally need to be about 80 times as massive to ignite and sustain hydrogen fusion in its core. The thing that makes a star a star. Actual failed stars do exist. They're called brown dwarfs. They're massive enough to cause deuterium fusion, but they can't sustain it. And even
since I discovered this tool myself.
One day, the god Thor woke up and noticed that his precious hammer Mjolnir was gone. He sought the help of his uncle Loki. Loki shapeshifted into a bird and flew to Jotunheimer, the home of the frost giants. There, he finds the giant lord Thrymer, who tells Loki that he has hidden Mjolnir deep under the earth.
We all know that famous saying, if it can chop a plank, it can chop a cock. 8 cuts on the schedule today, and she just scored 5 points on the first one. Here's the
why Napoleon put up with his wife cheating despite being the most powerful man who could have any woman. Josephine was a widow with 2 children from a previous marriage to another French Revolution general who was guillotined. Later, she had affairs with several leading political figures.
Last year I put a parasite on my arm to see if it would attach, and quickly realized it was a bad idea. Like the shrimp, I noticed a bulge and something growing underneath my cheek flap. That's when it hit me. I've become infected with a blood-sucking isopod parasite. I rented a van and began my journey to my doctors in Los Angeles. We had to drive past giant volcanoes, San Francisco, all the way down to the shark-infested waters of Santa Monica. We arrived at the surgical facility, and I was nervous to meet my doctor for the first time. So nervous, I died on the operating table. Then, like Frankenstein, I came back to life. I'm waiting on the doctor to send me more videos of the operation, so follow for part 2. Inside of my inventory, I have one of the rarest cockroaches in the world. Her name is Wanda, and she is a one-of-one albino hissing cockroach. If we open up my container of big black cocks, we'll be met with a bunch of big black cockroaches. Now, these succulent BBCs is what Wanda is supposed to look like, yet she looks entirely white. So obviously I have an albino cockroach, right? Wrong. Wanda, along with all of the other big black cocks in my hand, all look like this at multiple stages of their lives. For instance, this was Wanda only an hour before I added her into my inventory. As you can see, she is literally crawling out of her old skin. This process is known as molting. Usually, a BBC is nice and hard, but Wanda's new and improved exoskeleton hasn't hardened yet, which is why she has this off-white albino-looking appearance to her. If only you guys could feel these cocks for yourself. The big white cock is soft and squishy, whereas the big black cock is hard as a rock. Oh wait, that sounds so... Inside of...
We're cooking this brisket completely covered in salt. Started by removing the fat. And today is fun because we actually have a special use for it. After simmering, we're left...
As we all know, Muslim women in Islam wear headscarves. But why?
Well, a young female teacher, good-looking and wearing a short and tight skirt, was giving an assignment to her class one day. It was a big assignment, so she started writing high up on the whiteboard. Suddenly, one boy in the class giggles. She quickly turns and asks, "What's so funny, Michael?" "Sorry, teacher, but I just saw one of your stockings," he answers. "Get out of my classroom," she yells. "I don't want to see you for 3 days." The teacher turns back to the whiteboard after adjusting her skirt. She reached the very top to write it. Suddenly, there is an even louder giggle from another student. She turns again and shouts, "What's so funny, Billy?" "Well, miss, I just saw both of your stockings." She, now furious, screams as loud as she can, "Get out of my classroom!" This time, the punishment gets more severe. "I don't want to see you for 3 weeks." She fixes her skirt again. Embarrassed and frustrated, she drops her marker when she turns towards the board, so she bends over to pick it up. This time, one of the kids bursts out laughing. The teacher quickly turns around and sees little Johnny packing his things and heading for the classroom's door. "Where do you think you are going?" she asks. Johnny turns around, still shocked, and answers, "Well, from what I just saw, my school days are pretty much over." A young female teacher. A priest is driving his car down a sunny country road when he sees a nun waiting at a bus stop. He pulls over and offers her a lift. As they set off, the nun shifts to fasten her seatbelt, and her gown opens slightly to reveal a lovely leg. The priest glances down and nearly has an accident. After getting the car under control, he can't help but put his hand on her knee, slowly sliding it up her leg. The nun looks at him and immediately says, "Father, remember Psalm 129. The priest gets flustered and apologizes profusely. He forces himself to remove his hand. Further on, while changing gear, he lets his hand slide up her leg again. The nun once again says, "Father, remember Psalm 129. Once again, the priest apologizes. "Sorry, sister, but the flesh is weak." Arriving at the convent, the nun gets out, gives him a meaningful glance, and goes on her way. On his arrival at the church, the priest rushes to retrieve a Bible and looks up Psalm 129. The psalm said, "Go forth and seek, further up you will find glory."
You were not going to believe me when I tell you this, but I promise it's true. I was eating an old crab shell when I realized it was way too thick, so I spit it out and decided to go check out some mysterious rocks. I had to cross this dangerous river, and I can't swim, so I was terrified to say the least. I slowly and carefully crossed at a giant waterfall, and when I made my way across